Okay, I just want to do a little small video review talking about the Fuji X-E2 and what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and why I ended up returning it. So the camera, so I guess I kind of want to preface it by saying it is a $1,400 camera with the kit lens. So it's not a cheap camera. It's meant more on the upper, a prosumer camera, not totally for professionals, but definitely upper echelon of consumer line cameras. So the camera, first off, I want to say the things I like about it. The build quality was fantastic. Felt sturdy in my hands. It was metal, it wasn't plastic. For being a kit lens, that was a very nice kit lens it came with. Felt sturdy, it was all metal construction. Optics were sharp along all the apertures and stuff. Everything worked very well on the lens. It fit together nice. So the build quality is good. Button layout, I had no problems with it. Some of the other people had issues. My friend Keith had somewhat of an issue with the button layout because if you hold the camera up with a viewfinder, you have to look at the dials to change shutter speed. So you can't change shutter speed without pulling the camera down, looking at it, and then recomposing. My opinion was that the more you become familiar with the camera, you can look through the EFV and you can see through there what the shutter speed aperture are. So as long as you're holding it and you know what it is, you can move over and still get to it, and there's aperture over there. So I mean, so you really have both of, you do have shutter speed and aperture that are available. So I kind of thought it was more of an issue of getting used to the camera. Okay, so that being said, the camera was nice. In my opinion, it wasn't $1,400 nice. It was a very nice camera. Optical quality was great, picture quality was great, but in my opinion, I'm a Canon shooter, and I've had a Canon 7D for a long time. I had an old Canon 1DS Mark II, 8 megapixel camera, but actually the autofocus on that camera is tremendous, spot on, fast, and up until the 5D3, the 1DX, the 1D Mark II cameras were seen as the premier autofocus systems along the Canon line. Had a 7D, had a 1D Mark II, and also I currently shoot with a 5D Mark III. Okay, so I ended up selling the 7D, but my opinion was that in order for the Fuji X-E2 to really be worth it, it should be head and shoulders better than the 7D, considering the X-E2 has a bigger sensor and it's over 4 years newer. So it's a newer camera, it has newer technology. It should be head and shoulders better than the 7D, and in my opinion, it wasn't. It does offer the things that are nicer about a mirrorless camera. It is smaller, more portable. I can't deny it does have a blazing fast autofocus. So those are all factually true things, but it wasn't that much, once again, it wasn't noticeably better, it wasn't that much better than the 7D. For being a newer camera, it should blow it out of the water, especially because the Canon sensors lately haven't really been as competitive as Nikon or Sony, or even currently Fuji. And it wasn't that much better. So in my opinion, for the money, it wasn't a good value. The two things that drove me crazy, in that I really want to make a point of that, I read a lot of reviews of this camera, and the things that things are important to me that nobody ever said. There's only one autofocus point. So there's 3 different autofocus settings. There's single, continuous, and then manual. Okay, so you have those 3 on the side. So when it's in autofocus setting, it's not like a regular Canon multi-point focus. You do have multiple autofocus points. You have the array, but you only have one at a time. So you can click through the middle little button. You can click it and choose what point that is, and you can also choose the size of that point, either smaller or larger. So you have that available to you. However, it's not like a Canon multi-point focus where with the 5D, with the 7D, with even the 1D Mark II, I think it was a 45-point autofocus. So there's a different array. So when you have it in multi-point setting, it'll snap on to 3 or 4 different points. Okay, so the Fuji has 1 point. You can choose 1 point at a time, and that's all you got. So there's a lot of times that you're setting it, recomposing, or moving it through there, and choosing what point you like. And for me, I don't like that. I don't know what the point is of having multiple autofocus points if you can't use a multi-point system. So one of the other things that is claimed for the Fuji X-E2 is that it has the fastest autofocus in the world right now. And it is blazing fast. I agree, but it's tough to put in comparison to other systems when you're only dealing with one point. And if you're only dealing with one point in darker settings, it wasn't that hard to get autofocus to not lock on, to hunt and then not find anything. So if it's a multi-point, it'll grab onto something else in the scene and get something, as opposed to just the camera going, I don't know. So it wasn't that tough to get to miss focus. So for a camera that's of that price and of that supposed caliber, because I mean that thing, the X-E2 has amazing reviews about the camera, and I'm not going to deny the quality of the images produced, as well as the sharpness of the autofocus and the precision of the autofocus. Both fantastic, both big improvements. I was definitely impressed with those. However, one point I couldn't get by. And the other thing that I couldn't get by also was the fact, and I've disagreements with my friend Keith about this one, that in order to change the ISO, you have to go through a menu. There's not a quick button I can just change ISO. In my opinion, I want access to only 3 things quickly. I want aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Those 3 things. That's all I care about. I'm shooting a RAW. So my friend Keith is more of a landscape architectural photographer, and I can see in that aspect where it's really not that important to have quick access to auto. But if you're shooting, in my opinion, if you're shooting street photography, which this camera is marketed for, it is like street photography, where you're going to be changing environments quickly. Sure, you can set it on auto ISO, but I don't like auto settings. I want to be able to change things what I want quickly. So if I, hold on. Okay, so if I'm on the street with this giant 5D3, right? So I have this thing, it's on. So I can change aperture, shutter speed, and then I hit the button, and then also ISO. And I can do all of that while the camera's up to my face looking through it. So I can boom, boom, wheel, button, and I can see all that through the viewfinder. So if I'm composing a shot, I can pull the camera out quickly, cycle through, and set all those while looking at the light meter through the viewfinder without the camera ever leaving my eye. With the Fuji, you can't. And I'm not necessarily saying that even in street photography, if you're taking pictures of the kids and you're someone who likes, like me, who likes to have manual control of all the settings, you have more freedom. You can shoot this quickly if the settings aren't at least in the range of what you're looking for. So if you just pull this out of the bag, I can flip this thing on, compose, and get my shot that I want to quickly. Well, more quickly than with the Fuji, because I have to go through a menu. So with the ISO, there's a menu, and there's a full menu that you change the ISO on. But there's also a quick menu for the Q button. But still, with the Q button, you turn it on, move the little icon over to ISO, and then turn the wheel. So it's just more steps that you can't do with the camera up to your face. So for those 2 reasons, and they might be a little bit nitpicky, and they might not matter to you, but to me they do. And the thing is that once again, for a camera that costs $1,400, that is marketed, in my opinion, once again, marketed towards more the pro style market of photographer, those 3 things are something I should have quick access to, and so I'll give Keith my friend Keith some credibility in saying, like, you know what, I don't want the dial on top where I have to look at to change shutter speed. I think that you get used to it. You get used to it. You still hold the camera up. You can access it through that spot, but I don't know. So that's my opinion of the Fuji X-E2. Tell me what you think. Tell me agree, disagree, comment below. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.